Welcome to the Divine Paradigm Symposium, revealing universal pathways to joyful living. Thanks for joining us. I'm Gregory Hogue.
And I'm Gail Hogue.
And together, we have been researching and developing sacred geometry technologies for over 36 years to support the evolving consciousness of humanity and all life on the planet. We felt the inner call to bring together a collaboration of poignant dialogues with other visionary leaders whose work we love and have followed for many years. We will explore their insights and knowledge in these conversations to bring inspiration and clarity for navigating this amazing time. As we emerge from the pattern interrupt of COVID and challenges of the past year, deep-seated inner knowing will bring us forward into something new and perhaps unpredictable. Our intent is to support you on your path forward into a life of fulfillment. We have some very penetrating interviews with this series. Each one will offer you something of extraordinary value. So stay tuned each day for the next 3 weeks to absorb all you can from each of these amazing people. Every program will be available for 48 hours, and you can watch all the replays on Sunday. So let's get started.
So we have a very, very special interview today. They're all special. However, I'm really looking forward to hearing from our guest. Lisa Barnett is the internationally recognized #1 best-selling author of The Infinite Wisdom of the Akashic Records and From Questioning to Knowing, 73 Prayers to Transform Your Life. Her brand new third book, Awaken to Your Life Purpose, Understand Your Soul Plan, will be available this fall on Amazon. She is also the founder of Akashic Knowing School of Wisdom, where she has taught thousands of students worldwide to access personal soul wisdom and guidance to transform their life. With more than 25 years of experience in spiritual healing, Lisa teaches simple tools to empower you to find greater fulfillment, happiness, abundance, and health. Lisa also helps you align with your soul path, understand your soul contracts, and complete your karma and vows. Wow. That's a lot, Lisa. Wow. So we want to actually get started before we get into more of the information about what you've been doing and teaching people with the Akashic Record. We're going to start out. We want to dive deep into a conversation with you about this past year and a half that we've all been through with the COVID pandemic, because it's been so profound, and we're in such an amazing time right now as we're moving forward into co-creating our new lives. Vastly different, I believe, than anything that we've done before. So how do you see this, Lisa, and how have you fared this past year and a half?
Oh, well, thanks for asking. So a couple of things have been very interesting to me because, of course, I'm in daily conversation with the Akashic Record keepers, these beautiful beings of light that keep my records. Personally, I access my own records daily and the records for my business, and I ask them all sorts of questions like, what the heck is going on here? And so, a good year or so ago, not that long after the original lockdown in March or so, 2020, I really asked them, explain, please, what's happening? Why are we doing this? And they said to me that over the years, they had mentioned how we were in a big process, probably a long process of transforming from our old, three-dimensional paradigm into a higher vibration, raising our frequencies, recreating our world to really create that new earth. And so they used to tell me that we'd be coming into smaller communities again, that people would stop some of this extensive, travel to work, an hour, 2 hours each way every day, that we would come more back into family, community, living more locally, and of course eating locally, which is a whole nother big topic. But they had mentioned this, and I had said to them kind of over the years, how are we going to do this? So shortly after March's lockdown, I was having a discussion with them one day, and they basically said, this is the how we've been mentioning. No one is ever positive how it's going to actually play out, but we knew there was a shift, something that was going to happen that was going to help us to change, because we're human. We don't like to make those changes just ourselves, right? We're not going to say, I'm going to quit commuting into the city, I'm going to start working from home, right? You probably would have lost your job. But this gave us an opportunity to kind of slow down for so many people, almost stop. The record keepers say that this has helped many people to kind of open their minds, to do new research, to start to meditate, to take some online classes, to learn more about different spiritual paths. And so more people are awakening on the planet than ever before in history. So all of these very positive aspects have also come out. And of course, for so many of us, we've been triggered and challenged. We've been alone or lonely. It has brought up a lot of what's important for us to see and to work through also. So many people have, if they haven't gotten to do their own personal work yet, at least they've gotten more aware of things that maybe they want to work on in their lives to change or transform so that they can live a more fulfilling, really, and happier life. So that's been the view that the record keepers gave me last year.
How did that translate into your life personally, in terms of what did you discover that was maybe a gift of the pandemic for you personally?
Well, I would say a couple of things. Two of my children moved home, which is really fun, and I'm really enjoying that. One is 25 and the other is 27. My 27-year-old has turned into my assistant now because he had a whole computer background, so he started to work with me, and so that's very fun. And it's just kind of lovely when you're 20-something-year-olds kind of show back up again, and you get to have a really different relationship and experience with them as adults. So I love that. And of course, because more and more people are waking up, I find more people are like, what are the Akashic Records? How can they help me? So a lot of people reaching out, hearing me on more telesummits and podcasts and radio shows. And so really, the record keepers asked that I start teaching my online workshops 3 times a year instead of just once or twice that I used to just do 1 or 2, maybe online workshops. Now I'm doing 3 a year. So in that lovely way, my business has also grown and blossomed.
It's interesting because we certainly have had the same kind of experience that way, realizing that people are craving to go understand more depth in their lives and be able to have the clarity and the tools to move forward in a way that they hadn't been able to achieve yet. So that to me has been really amazing, and like you said, people who are taking the time to meditate, taking the time to do that inner work, even though I don't think any of us had an inkling that it was going to be like this, where the entire planet at the same time was going through this. It's really been extraordinary that that energy is implanted everywhere. How does that feel to you and the record keepers?
Well, again, as I kind of look at this big picture and ask, the record keepers, how, why, what's going on, and of course, part of the aspect that we're experiencing is, as we raise vibration, it also pushes up the old patterns that are no longer useful, all the old, darker, negative energy, a lot of the kind of lower vibrational emotions that we have from being feeling like victims or blaming others, or being in kind of anger or denial. And so we're seeing a lot of that get pushed up, of course, because we have whole countries in lockdown still. I was just speaking to someone in Australia yesterday, and they still can't leave or have anybody come in, right? So the country is locked down. Canada had been for very long, of course, the UK, Europe, it's been a real challenge when you live in a country and cannot leave. And so what we're seeing is so much of these old kind of paradigms being pushed to the surface. And so for me, the gift of having these conversations with the record keepers is that they remind me that it's not actually getting worse and darker, even though it may actually appear that way. It is, in our kind of vision of this world very often. But often to heal ourselves, to heal our world, to heal our consciousness, we have to push through that dark. And so often in the same way, if we do energy healing for ourselves or have a healing, we might notice some of those old energies or feelings or, kind of emotions come out, and they kind of show up in front of you. And so you're like, ugh, this is worse than before, but it's moving out through your energy field, through your auric field, to be recycled really for your highest good. And that's exactly what the record keepers say is happening on our planet. And it's not going to happen as quickly as when we do it for ourselves, for our one physical body, where it might release in 2 or 3 days. This might be 2 or 3 years or 10 or 20 years. We don't really know how long it's going to take because, of course, we're human with free will. So it's not predictable exactly how long it will take, but there are so many light workers who are working on the big paradigms, on clearing old matrices, old patterns, old programs from humanity, really from the collective field. And so when I get to work with some of these people and get to do some big group healing, it's so exciting to know that we're releasing some of these old patterns that have been on our planet for hundreds or even thousands of years.
I love the perspective, Lisa, that you're bringing, because I really have been looking deeply into the situation that we're in right now, where we thought we were going to be able to really move back into life again. And, one of my concerns was that perhaps people weren't totally ready yet. And if you move too quickly into something new, you might be bringing the old stuff along. So as I'm seeing what's happening again and things are shutting down, it appears as if that message is more depth is necessary. So let's take the time to embrace that depth and know that it's not feeling great. Like when you were talking about children coming back, and we have 2 daughters who also have spent a lot of time with us in this last year and a half. And I look at that and I go, this is an amazing gift, because there's unsettled things that can be so important for all of us. And we are able to, on a day-to-day basis, move that marker. And sometimes it's really uncomfortable. There's a lot of very uncomfortable things, because as people who like our freedom, who like to be able to do whatever we want to do in the moment, we can't. And so it's giving us a whole different picture of eternity, of what the purpose of all this really is, and how we are all holding pieces of the matrix that is so important now to do the healing and the cleansing.
I completely agree. And
the way to come into unity. Yeah, go ahead.
oh, sorry. I was just saying, I really agree that we're waking up to even new alignment. So if you imagine that so many people are realizing, I have really not been walking my soul's path. I've been wrapped up in my corporate job, making more money, buying a new car, doing whatever, going on that vacation, right? And as we're coming more deeply within, hopefully dropping down into our hearts and kind of quieting a little of that chatter with some meditation and yoga or being in nature, being able to go for a walk in your neighborhood, however we get to do those things, that we really can start to align more fully and realize more clearly who we are. And it's interesting because just this moment, I've not really had this thought before, but of course the record keepers are always talking to me. And what they just said was, one of the gifts of less busyness, right? Less spending time driving places and running around and doing out in the world. One of those gifts is also of aligning more fully within and detangling from everyone else's energy. So one of the things the record keepers always ask me to teach when I teach others to access their own Akashic records is first to really start with creating a sovereign space in your body. You are the sovereign of your body, right? To detangle from all the people, to, clear and release any of those old cords, because often they keep us stuck kind of outside of time. We have cords or connections with our parents from when we were children, and they still see us like a 5-year-old sometimes, right? There's lots of other people's energy in our field. So I would say that probably most of us have some level of confusion around, is this me or is this someone else? What's mine? What's my thoughts even? Right? So many of us are really telepathic and are not conscious of it. So we actually hear other people in our head and assume it's us. But it isn't always. Many of our desires, or even what we consider our dreams, might come from your family lineage. It might come from your parents or your partner or other people in your life. And when we start to have more quiet time, more even alone time, some of that chatter goes away and we're able to go, oh, maybe I don't really want to do that. Maybe that wasn't even me who wanted that or thought that. And so coming more present, in this moment, in this body, being the sovereign of your body with that beautiful singular soul inhabiting your body, we can get a lot more clarity on how to go forward. What do we want to create? Who do we really want to be in the world? And I think that is a very profound gift that is coming out of some of this time alone, or less busy time of running around and doing so much. So it's kind of a lovely gift if you think about it.
There are lots of lovely gifts, and something else you've been sharing that is important for anyone that wants to grow spiritually is to find that aspect that takes them to the bigger picture. Like you have your record keepers. And so they're kind of looking down, giving you that perspective of being able to even watch Lisa and not take her so personally, like what's going on inside the bigger picture of everything that's going on. And so I think that's a real gift for all of us, to be able to look at ourselves and not take ourselves so personally. Like you said a moment ago, you talked about people that sometimes get caught up in victimhood. That's when they're really deeply involved in the character that they're playing. But when you can step back, it's easier to watch what's going on. So you've shared some of that, and I'd like you to share a little more about what the Akashic Records are, what it is that you're accessing, and so people can understand that, because a lot of people may not understand that phrase that we're tossing around so easily.
Yes, absolutely. So what?
Can you tell us more about that?
Absolutely, I'd love to. So the Akashic Records are the recording of your soul's journey throughout all time space continuum. So everything you've ever been, everyone you've ever been on this planet or on any other planet in any other place or dimension. We often have lives in angelic realms, maybe elemental realms as the fairies, or different kind of different types of beings in other worlds and planets. So we know we have, I don't know, what are billions of universes out there? We're just a speck, even in one universe. And so we truly are infinite souls who spend so much of our kind of soul journey also in other realms, in other worlds. And most of us humans have 400, 600, even 800 lifetimes here on Earth. And so what happens is when you first individuate from source, your soul actually starts a recording of its journey. So if you imagine that when you were born, you had a little video camera built into your head, and every night that video was uploaded to the cloud, and you could go back and see what you were doing 10 years ago or 30 years ago, or when you were first born. And so the Akashic Records is similar to that. We often imagine it as a library, which is also a perfect sort of vision of it. And every book would be a lifetime. So you would have a full library with, say, 800 lives here on Earth and thousands of lives in other places, planes, and dimensions. And that library has its very own librarians that are in service to you. So it's your personal library, your personal librarians. We call it the Akashic Record, with the Akashic Record keepers. And so this information is stored there for you to access. And it is very powerful to be able to access your own information and see who you've been in other lives, in other realms or dimensions even. So it's very, very supportive information.
This kind of segues into, I think you have a free gift that you've offered for people just joining the symposium. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and why it can be of such value to the people that are watching us now?
Absolutely. So it's a guided visualization. It's a journey into your personal Akashic Records. So this visualization takes you energetically into your Akashic Record, into the beautiful Akashic Garden that you also have. We get to bathe in the river of forgiveness, clearing and releasing some karmic patterns. And then we are able to download some energetic gifts or talents from other lifetimes or realms that you have picked up these gifts and talents before. So we have so much information in our records. So many times we've been healers and teachers and writers and inventors and have done amazing things. And we can actually go into our records and ask for that information and reclaim many of these sorts of talents to support us in our life now. So this guided visualization takes you on that journey in just about 15 minutes. So it's very fun to have a kind of quick, easy experience and receive some gifts and talents from other lifetimes.
Wow, that sounds wonderful. And isn't that amazing that we have the ability to do something that quickly? You know, we can really shift so rapidly. And as you said, we have these talents. They're all there for us. We are all intuitive. We all have the capability to hear those voices inside and to really be able to use that. And I think that, to me, is one of the things that the quiet time that we've had during this past year and a half has helped people to embrace that inner world, you know, the quietness within that. If you're not quiet enough, you're not going to hear those voices. You're not going to be able to make some of those trajectory shifts. And it's, I think the outcome is really about becoming present. We have so much that we can live in presence with who we really are and how we experience each other and our world and all the dimensions that we live on. So let's talk a little bit about how you see that happening as we're moving forward, so that we're building a community of people whose level of presence has really gone up quite a few notches. What are we going to be seeing?
Well, honestly, part of the way I see it is that as we raise our vibration, and of course, so many tools like your beautiful sacred geometry tools are very valuable for people to help them raise their vibration, right? To shift into a higher energy, to start to align to, you know, what we're creating as we go forward. And so many years ago, when the Akashic Record keepers asked me to teach this work to humanity, they said, you know, it's everyone's birthright. And there are many gifts that come with learning to access your own Akashic Records. And one of those gifts is the Akashic Records are pure source energy in the quantum field. And so when we start to move into that energy, we are receiving pure divine love from source. We can start to see and feel who we are as a divine being, remembering that kind of essence and that energy. And we also are able to clear and release a lot of our old beliefs, our old patterns, our old energies. So we're opening our heart, we're raising our vibration, and we are shifting our magnetism. Because we're all magnetic beings, we are shifting our magnetism to like a higher energy of the good, of alignment to our soul path, of connection to our soul family members. And so what I believe we'll start to see in a very kind of simple way is we will be magnetically drawing our new best friends, our soul family, our people, right? Our real tribe to us as we go forward. So I believe that we will find new friends and new connections, and we'll start to co-create whether it's in communities and businesses and all sorts of different aspects of our lives that, of course, are always important and needed. And so I believe that we will naturally move into a state of energetically magnetizing and co-creating this new earth together. And so I think it will be beautiful and much easier than the old kind of process of working hard and struggling to make things happen. And so once we kind of work through a lot of these old patterns and can get through, the next year or so, I think maybe a challenge, we'll start to feel more of that magnetic, positive magnetic energy showing up, where just lovely things are happening in our world. So really looking forward. And it's happening now, right? I know that that you experience that. I certainly experience that. Even our connection, I feel, is that part of that, right?
Absolutely.
And
Lisa, I'm so glad we're talking about this, because I know there are a lot of people who have been having a difficult time staying positive. They're feeling the angst, and that's part of why we wanted to also start out with revealing to everyone that we have all been through a lot too during this time. It's not just a cakewalk, even though we've been able to keep a very positive attitude because of the work that we've been doing. And it's like, that old adage of peeling the layers of the onion. There's more and there's more. No matter how evolved we are, there's more. And then from that is more depth, more resolve, more capability to receive and give the gifts that we have. And, with the end being this co-creative ability, bringing together our lives and the way that we hold each other and our relationship to the world in a whole nother level of love and synergy. It sounds like a little Pollyanna at times, when I say that. However, I really do believe, and I know you've seen it in the records, that is what we're heading for, and that's what we're capable of.
Absolutely. And it really, it's important to kind of, again, see that big picture. That's why I love working in the records. That was my really first experience of accessing the records and being like, wow, that's a lot of information. That's amazing, right? Your soul has a plan. You have numerous purposes, and it's important to be able to see that there is so much more than just kind of this little human that we often think we are, or this moment, this experience, this challenge, and not to negate anyone's, challenges or traumas or pains, because it is so very real to us in the world, but to really hold in our hearts that we are co-creating a new earth. We are working to release these old energies that no longer serve us. And we're really holding humanity back in kind of an energy of the dark ages, kind of stuck. And so we are really working, and there are thousands and thousands of light workers who are consciously working on this, and thousands and thousands of millions who are working really through meditation and energy and profound, wonderful tools like you have, and different aspects to shift this energy. So I think it's important for people to know that there are so many of us all working to make this happen, to get us unstuck, to bring this beautiful new earth present now. And And when we can hold that truth and kind of, move away from any old media that is depressing. And I always say, I like living in my little bubble because my world is lovely, right? So I don't want to bring in any news or, things. I just want to continue to hold the energy, the light, the love, and share that with humanity. And we are raising the vibration of the people in the world when we can hold our own high, beautiful, loving vibration, right? So people can match us easily. And so that's part of our purpose. Many, many people have said to me, what's my purpose? And the record keepers often say, part of your purpose is to be the love that you truly are in the world, so that other people can feel that and step up to meet you, step up to match that vibration, which will help to heal and shift their life just in a simple and unconscious way.
That is so beautiful and so true. I think that's been another large part of the learning for a lot of people during this. It's like when you don't have a lot of the outside world pulling on you for what you're doing, it becomes something, well, what am I really here for? And that purpose at the essence for all of us is to be of service to others. And when we're serving, we're served. And I love your perspective with the Akashic Records of the number of lives that we have within us, literally, to draw upon. I mean, we are such magnificent beings, and we have everything within us if we simply have the quietness to find it and the allowance to allow it to flourish, come forth. It's like you shared with us, I think when we were talking the other day, how you were asked to write a book and you hadn't written a book before. And so that speaks right to what I'm saying right now. What did you share with us about going into a past life and pulling that out to enhance what you're doing right now in this life?
Absolutely. So many years ago, when the Akashic Record keepers asked me to write a book, I basically said, I did my little human, who am I to write a book? I don't even spell very well. English was, I'm not that good. I don't have any good grammar. So I really was kind of stuck. I can't do this. And I thought, okay, well, we have the Akashic Records now. So I opened my records and I said, can you show me past lives in which I was an author, in which I wrote with ease, in which I was a published author? So many different lifetimes that were supportive of writing a book. And I literally would go back every few days and say, is there another life, if I was feeling stuck, where it was easy for me to keep writing, where I didn't have any writer's block, or is there a past life where I could do this without having any doubt? Help me to clear and release the old doubt and step more fully into the energy, the feeling that I had in these other lifetimes where I did this with ease. And so they showed me quite a few different lifetimes where I was a publisher, where I was published, where I was a scribe in ancient Alexandria. I mean, just a big variety of lives from ancient times to, much more, 1600, 1700 sort of lives. And it just supported me to move through, to know I've got this, I've done this at least a half a dozen different lifetimes. This is simple. I can do it again, as well as I have the access of the Akashic Records, and I'm basically channeling the book. So I don't even have to think it up myself, so I just kept going forward. And really kind of the beautiful synchronicity that was completely unexpected is I had been part of a writing workshop, and there was what do you call it? There was a contest. And so all I wanted to do was use the contest as a deadline and to say, I need to get it done by this date. Otherwise, I don't have any deadline. I could do it next year or in 5 years, right? So I'm like, okay, I need a deadline. I work with deadlines. I'm good with that. So the contest was my deadline. So I put in 2 book proposals after doing all of this different work and healing work and connecting to the records and bringing in this energy. And in the end, I actually won that book contest. There were 25 different gifts, and I won really the first prize, which was an agent who got me a publishing contract.
Wow.
So yeah, I was just blown away, right? But that's kind of the energy and the gifts when you have that very conscious divine support that the Akashic Records give us, that many of our different, guides and beings give us. But for me, the record keepers wanted me to bring this book out to humanity, and they were there helping me all the way. So thank you, record keepers.
I love that. That's a beautiful story. And, it speaks to every one of us is such a creative soul and has so many gifts to give. And I want to move into something that I see that with young people, there's a lot of discouraged perceptions because they see a world, where what we're dealing with climate change and all of the, the world is in a challenging place right now. People are struggling in many different ways. And when we look out at some of the younger people, particularly, and people who are in challenged situations, there's a high degree of hopelessness. And that's also moved into more suicide and, some really, really tough things where some of these beautiful souls who are so loving and sensitive and have so much creative capability aren't feeling like they belong in this world, and they're having a hard time navigating. And my heart really goes out to those people. So here we are at a time where we have this quietness and this more inner reflective period to work with some of this, some of the dark secrets that are in there. How do you see working with young people, those people who haven't gotten to that place yet, like we have, where we can be more positive, we've seen a lot, and we have those connections?
Right.
What can we do to support these young people? How do the Akashic Records and the Akashic wisdom keepers help with that?
What they often will say is that there are many very simple tools. I have to say, I have quite a few guided visualizations, meditations. Most of them are around 10 minutes because I know we don't have a long attention span, and a lot of people don't have enough time to sit and meditate for an hour every day. And so the record keepers have made things pretty short, 10, 15 minutes. And I often offer one I call the rainbow shield. And what it does is we fill ourselves up with our highest Akashic wisdom, our highest energy and light, our whole body, our whole auric field. And we create a very strong rainbow shield, which is really the layers of your aura, but consciously strengthening it. And again, this is a very simple way to be the sovereign, to own your body and space, to be the queen or king of your body. And so we're moving other people out, we're owning our field, we're creating this safe and sacred space for ourselves so that we can feel what we feel and who we are. And it also creates protection. And I've had quite a few mothers over the years say, my 5-year-old, I listen to it before she goes to bed or he goes to bed, and he just loves to do the rainbow shield, with me. And he sleeps better. They're not having night terrors anymore, because we're actually protecting ourselves and making ourselves very strong and solidly us. And so they're safer on the astral plane. They're receiving this protection. And it's true whether you're 5 or 55, it doesn't matter. I have students tell me again and again how they feel more clearly themselves. They sleep better because they're not having bad dreams or nightmares anymore. They're feeling like when they go out into the world that they're not feeling like they're taking on everybody's energy, which is something we often do unconsciously, because no one teaches us boundaries when we're little. So teaching our small children boundaries. And these are also kind of great tools I find for teenagers and 20-year-olds, and just lots of different tools. Calling back your energy. We send our energy out, we leave it scattered around. So again, reclaiming all of who we are into our energy field and physical body. Using many of these kind of tools can start to help us align to our soul path, our soul work, really our soul's plan. And then I certainly teach people who are over 16 or 18 to access their own Akashic records, because it gives you this big view of who you've been. So again, instead of feeling like, oh, but I'm just a kid, I'm just a 20-year-old, what do I know? I don't know what to do. We can look and say, who have I been? What have I done? What was my soul planning before I came into this lifetime? And so your soul writes a plan with soul contracts to support other people, to learn and grow from other people, to create, to be creators, because we're all creator beings, right? To share our gifts and talents in so many different ways with the world, with our friends and family. And so I think that it's a great way to start to see the bigger picture of who you are. If teenagers or 20 or 30-year-olds are thinking like, how can I learn more about my purpose and why I'm here? Is learning to access your own Akashic records is a perfect way to do some of these things.
And that brings me to want to ask you about, there's a wonderful offer that that you're giving to people about, and really, it sounds to me like this is the perfect opportunity for people to be able to move into something that could be so healing and so, just help them move to a whole nother level of their beingness. Can you share with us more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a home study course, which is learning to access your own personal Akashic records, pre-recorded, so that you could start it tomorrow or next month or whenever you have time, right? Because we know how it is in the world. And so this is learning to access your Akashic records home study workshop. And there are, all these downloadable MP3s so that you can keep it in your computer and in your own personal library. There is about 12 hours of information, 6 2-hour sessions, plus about a 45-page manual that goes along with it. So you can read along. You have access prayers, healing prayers, exercises, every step of the way through this 12-hour workshop. You have a lot of it written out, so you can read along, you can go back and practice. I teach a 5-step wisdom prayer system, which is a very simple way to access your own Akashic records using a vibrational key in the form of a sacred prayer. So that is my home study workshop. And it would just, it's a great time in history, right? To learn to access your own Akashic records so you can be divinely guided every single day. Just open your records, ask the record keepers the questions that you have today.
Beautiful, beautiful. And on your page, people will have full access with that link to check that out and see. Now, let me ask you a quick question about that. Particularly talking about like teenagers, young people, they tend to be, some people tend to be fairly skeptical. So if somebody isn't like a full believer, you know, like inside, you know, they're curious, like they know that they think there's something there, but they're skeptical. Is it still going to work for them? And how do you deal with that skepticism?
Well, honestly, I find that by the time people find me, and again, these are kind of magnetics, that they're over their skepticism. So I've been blessed that way. So I think many people play with their intuition. We kind of learn to trust it or we don't. And often what I would say is the level of skepticism is, can I trust the information I'm getting? Am I sure it's the record keepers and not me? Because most of us, when we're clairaudient, when we hear it, we hear it in our own head, in our own voice, right? It doesn't come from outside or a big booming voice. It's kind of what's in our head. What's really we're looking for is what's in our heart. And so I teach people many different tools to turn off your analyzer, again, vibrational keys and healing prayers to kind of move out of their doubt or their worry or their skepticism, and to start to practice using these exercises, which is why I do 12 hours. We practice a lot in the workshop, and to start to go deep and to start to trust yourself, to see what information you're getting, and you read it and you think, oh my gosh, you know, I never thought of that. That wasn't coming from me. Often people also say, that doesn't sound like me. When I write down what I'm kind of thinking, hearing, it might sound like my voice in my head, but once I write it down and read it, they're not my thoughts, or it's not even the vernacular that I tend to speak in, right? It maybe sound a little bit more formal or a little bit like of an older English. It's very interesting how we channel our own Akashic record keepers in these kind of different ways, right? A little bit of a different energy. They speak to us. Often they will say, oh, dear ones. And they treat us because they are pure beings of light. They see us as these dear beings who have embodied and are here for their assistance. And so they love us profoundly, right? It's pure, pure love. And so we start to notice these things. And I find that clears most people's skepticism.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's an important piece, because I think you know, the field is widening so much. There's so many people who are just stepping into this this energy field, this new vibrational field, and everything that we can do to help them build that trust is so important right now.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Because really, to have your own divine guidance is, you know, to me, to the record keepers, obviously one of the most powerful tools to have. And so they really say that being able to access this energy of your whole soul's journey, which is stored in source vibration in the quantum field, the phenomenal healing we can do through the quantum field, because no time and space, you can go back and heal and kind of pluck out those nasty old past lives and heal them and plop them back in, and they're all better. And we feel it in our body. It's really phenomenal. And so this is a beautiful, powerful empowerment tool to have right now.
It really, really is. I remember a few years ago reading about biologists working with plants that could dry up for years and then be brought back to life with a little water. And it turned out that there was a particular gene within the plants that allowed that. But the amazing thing was, rather than to take that gene and splice it into other plants, they discovered that it already exists dormant in other plants. So in a way, it's like what we've been talking about all these lives, all the quote unquote junk DNA within us is really aspects of us that may be dormant and is there almost on a physical level, holding the space for what we want to bring in and water so that it can flourish and allow us to grow into something quite a bit beyond what we understand right now. And that's what we've been speaking to all day. It's lovely that we have that potential to be so much more. And you spoke a little bit to that when you were talking about young people and how to approach them. But what are some of the other seeds that you're seeing within human beings that it's time to really water these seeds and let this DNA start to come to life? Because maybe there's something to that we have to start activating within us.
Yeah, I love that. That's so fascinating. It's like, oh, how exciting, right? And that really is in a way what we're doing, right? We're reclaiming, we're bringing it present now. We're integrating all of these gifts or talents or wisdom, knowledge we've had in other lifetimes and bringing it present in this body, right? So yes, beautiful and kind of a fabulous story. So one of the things I'm seeing, which is very exciting, especially with the children, is, and I think a lot of people are starting to wake up to the concept that we really are all star seeds, right? I mentioned in the beginning, all the lifetimes we live, not only here on Earth, but all the other places, planes, and dimensions. And so there's a couple of things that I see happening and starting now is that there are many, many souls who are coming from other worlds or dimensions or planets who are bringing new inventions or new to us inventions to help humanity. And so that's very, very exciting. I think that a lot of our the young children, absolutely, but even the 10-year-olds, the teens, the 20-year-olds already have this within them. And I believe that a lot of it has to do with a level of divine timing. So as we were talking about some of those children who may feel kind of hopeless, as the energy raises a little bit further, it will start to trigger their own memories, their own knowingness, their own desire, right? To create something new, to invent something to help humanity, to whatever it might be, to be of service in the world in a much bigger way. And so I believe it's already seeded, and some of that's just the divine timing aspect. And then the other very exciting, lovely thing is, these new babies are really coming in karma free. They're pure. They're very much more pure energy. They haven't had this long cycle. They're old souls, but they haven't been cycling through this human paradigm with all these karmic patterns that we've been stuck in for the last, 12,000 years. So they're really coming, I believe, to be the pure energy and the light, which will be that that real kicker that'll really change us, move us into the new earth. So as these babies that are being born now, and some of the, 2-year-olds or even 5-year-olds, I think they're mostly pretty little, maybe under 5 or 6 right now, but will continue to come in droves. And that is just a huge blessing for humanity. So, right, as we wake up, again, if you're imagining, we're clearing all these old patterns that have been on the planet for the last 10,000 years, and these new babies and these new children are coming to help us remember and bring new energy, new inventions, pure love. So we're going to really, it's kind of starting in that way and growing up. And as they grow up and as the babies turn 20 or 30, we will really see huge changes in the world, in our communities, in the new earth. I believe that we will have by then really grounded in, anchored the new earth here, and we will really be seeing and living it. So it's exciting.
That is exciting. And what a beautiful way to wrap up our time together. I love this. Thank you so much. And you know what it brings into my heart is that symposium is to create, to co-create, to bring together this resonance, this vibrational field that we're all holding and we're all raising. And as you were talking about those little ones that are coming in now, karma free, the young people that will start seeing a whole new life because they're walking into a different room. They're feeling a whole different foundation. And so whatever we've been through in this time that's kind of, slowed us down, kept us from going out on those wonderful vacations that we'd all love to be out on, it's perfect because we're doing something that is such a blessing, so significant, so beautiful, and we're clearing ourselves more and more, and we're bringing something into reality that has been assigned to us, that is our soul's journey. And it's just profound to be able to do it together with such beautiful people, such as yourself.
Oh,
Really?
oh, thank you. This has been really a joy to be able to spend this time with you and share with you. So I thank you so much for inviting me to have this conversation and share this Akashic wisdom.
We're moving into such an exciting time, and it's something I think that everyone we've spoken to, it's that heart opening of, we are so fortunate to be alive now, because in the midst of all the breakdown, that's where the most opportunity lies for us to flourish and become the human being we have an opportunity to become. And thank you for sharing all of your perspectives today.
So thank you, Lisa. And we really urge every person to check out her website, check out all that is here for you, and build your field, build your life, build the beautiful hearts that you all are together as we are playing our role for the good of all. So thank you so much, and blessings.
Thank you for watching and being a part of the Divine Paradigm co-creation. The time has come for us to work together in co-creative ways, with the outcome being greater than any of us could have achieved alone. You make a difference in this important time, so thank you so much. We want to let you know tomorrow there will be another amazing conversation with one of the heartfelt thought leaders who have chosen to be a part of this symposium. Each program is available for 48 hours, and all of them can be replayed on Sundays. You will be receiving an email in your inbox that will take you to the next conversation. So make sure you're getting our emails. Please stay with us and stay tuned. We're going to have a lot of fun with some powerful messages. The full program takes place 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday for 3 weeks. And the full program will also be available at the end for purchase. Keep checking back to the page to enjoy our next conversation. Blessings and love.